we are on our way to the next news video, and also, Bray Wyatt made a challenge to two people competing in Elimination Chamber tonight, saying that the winner of Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar should be prepared to run. Because that, in my opinion, means Bray versus the winner of Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania is something we should expect to see. And an interesting, in my opinion, an interesting random match that came from nowhere. But also, if Brock beats Bobby Lashley, does that mean that Bray has to beat Brock? Because you can't have Bray lose to Brock at WrestleMania this early, it being the second time that Bray competed since his return. Like, I don't know that Bray can lose. But I also don't know that if Bobby Lashley beats Brock Lesnar, do you want to just feed him to Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania and stunt the momentum that he would get from beating Brock Lesnar that soon? So I think it is more likely that Brock wins against Lashley, and, that Brock wins against Lashley, and that with what we know now, that the winner will fight Bray Wyatt likely at WrestleMania, that is the reason why Brock would win, because Brock would be able to more handle a loss to Bray at Mania than Bobby would. And, I think it would be a little bit of a bad business decision having Lashley beat Brock and then use that momentum to put over Bray, even though I know Bray deserves it, Bray needs it. Still, it's something that I think also Bray versus Brock is something that people have wanted to see for years. So giving him that match at WrestleMania, especially if Brock is into it, is something that I think would even raise the stakes of this year's WrestleMania a little bit more. We will get to more sale news in a little bit, but I wanted to get to the last news story from the previous video and talk about that a little bit more, as WrestleVotes acknowledged a meeting that was held back in January where WWE and, creative staff, WWE management, creative staff, marketing, yada, 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 set up plans and spoke about plans having to do with incoming free agents. Kota Ibushi was mentioned, Jay White was mentioned. Kota Ibushi became a free agent in early January. It is unlikely that Kota will jump in and do anything with WWE at the outset because he wants to be a freelancer for a bit. He wants to just work places for a bit, sort of like what we've heard from FTR. And he just doesn't want to work for a major company right out of the gate again. And I completely understand that. I completely agree with it. I, admire the fact that he would want to do that. But the fact of the matter is, Jay White is the other one that was acknowledged in the story of WWE coming up with creative plans for Jay White. And in my opinion, that points to the likelihood of Jay joining WWE, which again we will get to with Battle in the Valley later tonight, and we'll speak about that in the preview. But I mentioned that some within WWE believe that they could sign Kenny Omega too, as Kenny has had a very good relationship over the years with Triple H, dating back to when WWE attempted to sign the Elite before the formation of AEW. So it is entirely possible, but I think it would be a little harder to sign away Kenny Omega than it was to sign away Cody Rhodes. But using logic, think about it like this. The one place that Kenny has yet left to conquer, is WWE. So if Kenny wants to conquer WWE, he is most definitely able to, but to say that it is not likely that Kenny had time added to his contract and that his contract is not actually expiring in 2023 and it may expire in late 2023, early 2024. Number one, AEW needs to focus on the fact that if Maxwell's contract actually does expire in early 2024, then they need to focus on that. But the fact of the matter is, if Kenny's contract is coming up too, AEW's got a problem because they got a lot of people's contracts coming up very close together, and they need to fix that and figure that out. They need to fix that and figure that out. Because fact of the matter is, they may lose a lot of their top stars if they're not careful. Or they may lose somebody that's going to cause a big gap in their stardom. I'm not saying I believe that Kenny Omega would join WWE. I don't believe Kenny Omega would join WWE. Honest to God, I don't believe Kenny Omega would join WWE. But to be fair, I don't think any of us believed that Cody Rhodes would join WWE. But like I said, I think Kenny Omega joining is a little bit different than Cody joining. But I think it's something that we should keep an eye on, and that I will keep an eye on over the next couple of months. Also, it has been reported by the folks over at PW Insider that Logan Paul's match with Seth Rollins at WrestleMania is set in stone. I have been saying that since Royal Rumble, that Rollins versus Logan Paul is going to be the match that we're waiting for at WrestleMania, and it will be an unsung classic because you have two of the very best in WWE as far as in-ring ability and in-ring talent, all in all, being able to compete together in the ring at the grandest stage of them all, or on the grandest stage of them all. But I'm not going to toot my own horn too much about the fact that I was right, that Rollins is facing Logan Paul at WrestleMania. But that is something that is being reported by PW Insider, that Rollins versus Logan Paul is very likely to take place at the Showcase of the Immortals. But, as I mentioned, Vince McMahon has an asking price for WWE according to Bloomberg. Vince McMahon has an asking price for WWE according to Bloomberg, and the asking price for WWE is said to be around $9 million. Now, I don't know if this is official. I don't know if this is the actual asking price for the company. I doubt that Vince would put out the actual asking price for the company. But, I mean, it is... WWE is valued at $6 billion. So I don't think it is unreasonable, because it is very likely that when the company does get sold, that there would be some form of stock shares being sold alongside with the company. So it would raise the value of the sale. But I doubt that the company sells for $9 billion. According to the Bloomberg report, WWE has also received offers for the company. It is undisclosed the amount, but we won't know what the amount is. That's a fact. We won't know what the amount is until the company gets sold, and even then we may not know what the company gets sold for, because it just may not be able to be reported. It may not just be able to be reported on what the company sells for, and we will have to accept that, because it's none of our business to know that. Unless somebody reports it, which even if somebody reports it, that doesn't mean they report the accurate amount. And even if somebody reports it, it doesn't mean they report the accurate amount. But the fact of the matter is, I do think that if you go over previous sales for similar properties, with the one that I would say most similarly matches is Lucasfilms, with the amount of subsidiaries that come with Lucasfilms and stuff like that, that in my opinion it would most match that, and Lucasfilms sold for about $4 billion, I do believe. But there were also shares, I think, within that deal. So I think it is most likely, especially if WWE gets sold to a company like Endeavor, that it would have that shares would have some, like stocks and shares, would have some stake in the overall price of the sale, and it wouldn't just be all money. But I think this will, until it is decisively proven that WWE will either not get sold or has been sold, this will be a conversation that is on the news cycle or in the news cycle until things change. But with that being said, we still got previews for Elimination Chamber and Battle in the Valley tonight. Magic in Montreal is about to happen when Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns collide for the Undisputed Universal Championship, and Okada and Tanahashi for the IWGP World title, as well as Mercedes Moné and Kairi for the IWGP World Women's Championship. That is coming soon in the preview for those respective events. But with that being said, the news is done for the day, and I will see you in the previews.